So, is Donald Trump a fascist? Part 1, coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense, Logic, and Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. So it's no secret that Donald Trump has been labeled as a fascist by the left. You know, the elites on the left and the mainstream media came up with that narrative, and then their peons all picked up on it and followed it and been calling him a fascist since he ran in 2016. And the worst part about it is the majority of the people who were doing this at the time, especially back then, didn't even know what fascism was. They just heard Trump is a fascist. They believe he's bad because he ran as a Republican. Thus, they just chant fascism. He's a fascist. He's a fascist. But the question is, though, is Donald Trump really a fascist? Well, that's a question that I plan to answer, and I'm going to do this in a 3-part series. Now, this video, I'm going to take the definition of fascism, and I'm going to hold it up to Trump to see if it fits. In the next video, I'm going to take the five key indicators of fascism, and once again, a fascist, and hold it up to Trump, see if it fits. And in the last video, the third video, I'm going to do the 14 characteristics of a fascist, and then hold it up against Donald Trump and see if it fits. Now, one of the things I often hear in base definition of fascism is the word far-right authoritarian, which makes absolutely no sense. People on the right are getting away from authority. They want limited government. So how right or going right equals to wanting authoritarianism doesn't make any sense when people on the left want socialism, which eventually leads to communism, which is the ultimate authoritarianism. So I just have a problem with this idea of people on the far right being wanting authority. That's BS. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get into the definition of fascism. And again, this is a generic fascism created. The generic definition created by AI. But if you read all the definitions of fascism, they pretty much all paraphrase the same thing. Anyway, so fascism is an authoritarian, ultranationalist political ideology characterized by a dictatorship leader, strict social hierarchy, and the suppression of the opposition. Key indicators include extreme exclusionary nationalism, a cult of personality surrounding an infallible leader, glorification of violence, materialism, the scapegoating of minorities, and the total control of media and truth. So let's break this down. Let's go deep breakdown of this definition, again, which was generated by AI, but they all pretty much paraphrase the same thing. So we're going to go deep into just about every part of this definition to see if it fits Donald Trump. So starting with authoritarian. Basically, that just means someone who all about extreme concentration of power and the suppression of the democratic process. Is Donald Trump an authoritarian? Not even remotely. Matter of fact, Donald Trump, once again, is the opposite of that. In 2016, he vowed to take the power from the elitists and give it back to the people, us. That's not authoritarianism. That's not concentration of power. He's about dismantling unnecessary and wasteful alphabet organizations and put that power back in the hands of states or states' rights. So I would say the people who hate states' rights and who demonize states' rights are far more authoritarian than Donald Trump is. He's far from that, so that doesn't fit. And then let's go to the next part, a strict social hierarchy. Donald Trump is a billionaire, and you can say he's in the billionaires club. But anybody who knows Donald Trump knows he's a very down-to-earth person. He's never been like I'm holier than thou because I'm the elite. He's never had that mentality. He's hung out with people, as we know. I've heard the stories we all heard the story of him allowing a black female who was homeless to stay in his hotel when they caught her living in one of the hotels. Now they try to shame that story to say that it wasn't true, But one story that is absolutely true is that Donald Trump was always for helping black business owners. He would, when they had trouble getting loans from banks, people told him to go to Trump. Trump would give them business loans and then would tear up the contract, give them a handshake and say, hey, go run your business. But there's no evidence whatsoever that Donald Trump was ever about a hierarchy. Even though he's a billionaire, he'll hang out with anybody, he's cool with everybody, and you've never heard him basically shun people based off of a class. He's never done that. So Donald Trump is absolutely not about a strict social hierarchy. He's never been about class, even though he's a billionaire. And so let's go to the next point. Suppression of opposition. Basically, Trump is inclusion in everybody. As I say, he'll sit down with anybody, talk with anybody. I would say this fits more of the left than Trump. Again, Trump is being suppressed by the mainstream media. Not only is he being suppressed, but he's been lied upon. And it basically, Donald Trump has no ability to suppress anybody because he doesn't control the mainstream media. So how is he a suppression of the opposition? Matter of fact, he'll sit down and talk with the opposition. He's always been a person that's willing to sit down and talk with anybody. Is the left, I would say, is the left the ones that always want to remove people, get people removed from social media as they can, get people removed, silence of anything, shut them down. So, when it was Maxine Waters harass people in these congressmen, these conservative congressmen, harass them at their home, harass them at gas stations, harass them at the grocery store, harass them at restaurants, give them no peace, no quarter. That sounds like the left, not Trump. So that doesn't fit Donald Trump. Again, and then he say exclusionary nationalism. In other words, exclusion of basically people who are not, I'm guessing what that means is an exclusion of people who are not Americans or to be pro-America. Is that Trump? Well, yeah, he's America first. And if you're not a legal citizen, you shouldn't be here. So, hey, that's pretty much the only exclusionary nationalism that people can bring up about Trump. But it fits. But here's the thing about it, it's all about optics. It's all about relativity. When the idea of illegal Americans or illegal aliens being in this country has been ignored for so long and allowed to go on for so long that if somebody try to do something about it, it's seen as evil. But he's just doing his job, dealing with the border. So him addressing the border and one strong national border is not him exclusionary nationalism. He's just doing his job, a job that other people before him failed to do. So if you want to make that fit Trump, go ahead, but honestly, not really. And let's go to another part of this definition, infallible leader. When has Donald Trump ever put himself as an infallible leader, any more so than anybody else? If that fits Donald Trump, it fits everybody, which then makes no sense. Because if everybody it fits this, then it's at that point it's just irrelevant. But Trump has never been a person who believes that he's infallible. Now he has an attitude. He goes after the people who he disagrees with, but that doesn't mean he's an infallible leader. And if he's the type of person, if you sit Trump down and hey, this is what you did, this is what wrong, I think Trump is the type of person that will listen. In spite of his very fiery personality and his need to go after everybody and talk about celebrities, which something that I never liked, but he's never been a person, I've never been any evidence that he's this infallible leader. Then another part of this definition is the glorification of violence and militarism. When has Trump ever glorified violence? When? Now, people talk about Venezuela. Obviously we had that operation in Venezuela to remove their president. Trump is not the only U.S. president that sent our military to go invade somebody. So Once again, if you want to say that falls under this, well, Obama was the same. Obama glorified militarism and violence. Okay, Bush, all the Bushes, Clintons, they've all done it. So Trump is not into militarism, but he will use the military to protect our interests. Now, when has Trump ever glorified violence? Can anyone give me evidence that he's ever done this? It doesn't exist. Again, Maxine Waters, as I said, told everybody to harass people. That's far more example of a glorification of violence than anything that Trump has ever done. And then let's go to another point. The scapegoating of minorities. Again, when has Donald Trump ever blamed minorities for anything? Trump blames corrupt government in saying that we have too much power with the government. He doesn't blame minorities. He doesn't blame anybody but corrupt government and bad policies that's basically derailed and harmed America over the last few decades. Again, but who is it that the one that's always against big corporations? It's the left. So the left are the ones who are always scapegoating something. Donald Trump just simply says, we got too much corruption. And he's actually addressed the corruption for decades that has never advocated for America and put America first. So this doesn't fit Donald Trump at all. It fits more of the left than it does fit Trump. And then the last point in this is the total control of the media in truth. Now, obviously, that's BS. Trump does not control the leftist media, because if he controlled the leftist media, they wouldn't be lying on him and having people referring to him as fascist. So that right there in itself is a lie. And then Trump, remember in 2016, Trump had to go the route of social media. He had to put his message out there by way of social media, which is a form of media that everybody have access to, as opposed to the mainstream media, who was just lying on him and saying anything. Or the mainstream media with all their lies on him. And they're still lying on him every moment they can. So then how does Trump have total control of the media and truth? That makes no sense. So this is pretty much, like I say, a complete breakdown of that definition of fascism. And as I said, they all pretty much say the same thing. They all pretty much paraphrase the same thing. But you can pick any definition you can find. Of course, I'm not talking about revised definition, because the left, part of their lies is they love to revise history. But as you can see here, Donald Trump is far from a fascist based off this particular definition of fascism, which, as I said, they all pretty much paraphrase the same thing. So based off of this, how exactly is Donald Trump a fascist? He's not. Anyway, y'all, so in the next video, I'm going to do the 5 key indicators of fascism. Take those 5 key indicators of fascism and then see if Trump fits. Anyway, y'all, as always, until next time.